Autograph update number 5. Ahoy everybody, and welcome to another autograph update. This is number 5 at the start of December now, so this is the autographed items I've received over the last month or so, I think it is, since the last one that I haven't already shown, and we'll crack straight on. So first up we have a Pledge Music purchase. This is The Fizz, who are Bucks Fizz, but they're not allowed to use that name anymore for legal reasons, so they just call themselves The Fizz. They've released a Christmas album. As I say, this was through Pledge. As they did with their normal album they released earlier this year, they've signed it on a CD for some reason, which I never quite understand. But I haven't listened to that yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Get to a bit nearer Christmas and I'm sure I'll start playing it. This was a purchase that lots of autograph collectors snapped up. This is Jeff Goldblum's jazz album he released a couple of weeks ago, and it's very good, I hasten to add. And through a couple of sites it was available with a signed postcard, and there it is. So thrilled to have Jeff's autograph in my collection. Obviously classic actor, so many great roles, and nicely signed as well, so thrilled to have that. Another signed CD. This is the new album by Rita Ora. Initially when the album was announced there were no signed copies available, but then after a few weeks she added a limited number of signed copies, and I managed to get a signed copy of the deluxe version of the CD. It took a while it was posted the day before the album's come out. The album was come out, that's good English. It was posted the day before the album was due to come out, which was a Friday, as they all are nowadays. So it's posted on the Thursday. I didn't receive it till the following Wednesday. I was starting to worry, but it did turn up. But yes, nicely signed again. Again, I haven't listened to that album, so I can't comment on that. We'll move away from music for a second. The comedian Richard Herring, who I'm a huge fan of. If you're not familiar with him, he first came to fame in the mid-90s for his double act with Stuart Lee, their TV shows Fist of Fun and This Morning with Richard Not Judy. After their split, they've both gone on to hugely successful solo careers. Stuart's obviously a huge name now in comedy. Richard's less of a household TV name, although he was recently on the quiz show House of Games, and he's been on Pointless a few times, so he is known. But he's most known nowadays for his work in podcasting. He's got his own, well, he's got 2 or 3 different podcasts, but the big one is his Leicester Square Theatre podcast, which is an interview show where he has a different guest and you have sort of an hour-long interview with them. It's the show that Stephen Fry revealed he'd had a suicide attempt on. That was sort of when it became big news. But yeah, I love Richard Herring, seen him live a couple of times. Back everything he does. I think he's just a wonderful human being and a brilliant comedian. His last normal tour, which took place, I think did it start? I think there was a few shows last year, but most of it was the start of this year, and it was Oh Frig I'm 50. When he turned 40, he did a show called Oh Fuck I'm 40, and this is sort of the 10 years later sequel to that. He intends doing another one on his 60th. Whether he'll still be alive for the 70th, his words, not ours, not mine, remains to be seen, but he's planning on doing these 10-year shows. He releases live recordings, DVDs of his shows through a company called Go Faster Stripe, who are brilliant at releasing less mainstream comedy titles. I've got loads of their stuff, all of Richard's stuff through them. Because DVD sales are slowing, people tend to prefer to download now. What they did this year was they've just done a limited number of DVDs, the bulk of which were available through a Kickstarter campaign, which is what I backed, and therefore this is a signed copy of the DVD. So you can see it's limited number 13 of 200. Ooh, I'm trying to get rid of the glare. Let's try taking it out, that might help. Yeah, that's better-ish. And signed. I have loads of signed bits by Richard, up in the 40s. I'll put on here the exact number when I've looked it up afterwards. But it's a brilliant disc. They're always packed full of extras, and what they've done for this, they've actually packaged the Oh Fuck I'm 40 DVDs with it as well. So you've got loads of material. There is over 9 hours of extra material, plus an hour 40-minute show on there. Really good, really funny, as Richard always is. As part of a Kickstarter, I received a signed copy of the programme for Oh Fuck I'm 40, Kickstarter 13. I have signed copies of nearly all Richard's programmes. He raises money for Scope, for charity, and a couple of years ago, for a donation of, can't remember how much it was, it wasn't a lot, it was £20-25. Excuse me. He just sent out signed copies of all his programmes to date that he had left, and flyers for them as well. He dedicated all the programmes and just signed all the flyers. But yes, but I also now have another copy of that with a Kickstarter, plus a signed flyer for the show, plus actually a show I was at on his best of tour at Fareham Ashcroft Arts Centre. A couple walked out at half time, sent him an email. Part of it, he was saying, it was the biggest waste of £15 times 2 I've ever paid, or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording, but the fact that he put £15 times 2 rather than £30 tickled Richard, amongst other things. So what we've now got is a cheque payable to myself for £15 times 2. Obviously it's not a valid cheque, but that's a nice item to have if you're familiar with the show. This is from Oh Frig I'm 50 that happened. That's why I was at, especially because I was actually at the show that he walked out from. Also, as part of that is the programme for Oh Frig I'm 50. For some reason I've received Kickstarter 12 rather than 13 on that. And the flyer for Oh Frig I'm 50. I already have this one signed because he gives away the programmes free at his gigs, but asks for donations to Scope in a bucket at the end of the show. But to pay for the programmes, he raises money through donations, and as you can see, I donated towards it. I've donated to his last 3, I think it is, because it all goes to Scope anyway, and it's just a brilliant cause, and I'm happy to support him. So that was my Richard Herring stuff. What's next? Went to see the band Sleeper at Portsmouth Wedgwood Rooms. That's the 3rd time I've seen them this year. Previous video I showed you a poster I was given when I bought the t-shirt at the first gig I went to in Bournemouth. This time they were just selling signed posters, so I didn't have a problem. If you recall, it got all squished because I had it at the start and I didn't have anything to protect it in. This time I just waited till the end to buy the poster, and this is it. So it's a poster advertising the tour, and signed by Louise, John, Andy, and the bass player who's relatively new to the band and whose name I can never remember, but I will put it up here. So that was only a £5. The support band were a band called The Lottery Winners, and they were magnificent. Really enjoyed their set. The lead singer was really funny. His between song banter was excellent, and the songs were really good as well. So afterwards they were signing up the merch stand and selling CDs, but the lead singer's dad knocked up in his shed, so to speak, but he took 4 days off work and just burnt a load off. I didn't get him to sign that since it's not in a proper cover, but they also had vinyl of their new single That's Not Entertainment, and they all signed it for me. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out The Lottery Winners. Really good band. Let's do this next. Just come out a couple of days ago is the new album by Brian Ferry. It's Brian Ferry and his orchestra, Bittersweet, and it's various songs from his back catalogue re-recorded with an orchestra. I believe they all are. Anyway, I think they are, from what memory serves. And they were selling bundles on his website with signed elements, so I thought I'd snap that up. So this is the CD in a nice book digipack, and nicely signed in gold on the front. And then the vinyl is just black vinyl, so I won't bother showing you the actual vinyl, although it looks nice quality. I'll probably show that on a vinyl update video, but that's the vinyl. Comes with a nice booklet as well, and a signed print with that, nicely signed in silver. So that's a nice one to have. This one isn't a name as such, but it is signed, so I'll show it. I found on a website an artist who did a nice digital picture of Prince that I liked, so I ordered it, and it was signed, and this is number 4 of 100. So the artist is Jane Tunnicliffe, I think that is. What we've got, let's do a couple of signed books now. These are both purchased through Cole's Bookstore, who I have mentioned before. I'll sort that out later. First up was a book I was umming and erring over getting. I knew I probably would eventually, but Craig, who's a subscriber and a regular viewer, he bought a copy of this and showed me a picture of the signed element, and I liked the way it was done. It wasn't a book plate, it wasn't just on a blank page, it looks good. I've heard so things about the book, because it's very much a this is my famous friend type autobiography, or sort of biography. It's Eric Idle's Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. I already have a signed Monty Python book by Eric Idle, which is another reason I was hesitating, but I do like the way they've signed it, or he signed it, so I snapped that up. And then also I bought, this is as you can see there, a signed special edition of Darcey Bussell's Evolved book, which is a set of pictures throughout her career that she's written about as well in there. As you can see, it's a nice book. It's only 500 signed copies, and I had number 305 of 500. But I've always had a bit of a thing for Darcey, long before Strictly, and I do have another one of her books signed, which you will see when I get through my signed books. I think it's an earlier version of this, if that makes sense. Back to a bit of music. There's been a new Lulu box set, or book set, released, decade 1967 to 76. So this is sort of all the post Lulu and the Lovers through her 70s peak, if you like. It's, what is it, 5 discs full of rarities and singles and B-sides and all sorts of stuff on there. Haven't listened to it yet, but I'm not a big fan of Lulu as a person, but musically I like her stuff. And through Amazon that came with a signed print. Then we have, this is a box set that when it was announced I liked the sound of, but at the time I didn't have the money for it. But then for Black Friday it came through at a decent price. I think it was 25 quid, something like that. It's a 5-star anthology. Big fan of 5-star in the 80s. And this is the Amazon exclusive that comes with a signed print by lead singer Denise, and that's nice. So this has got basically all their albums and remixes and all that sort of stuff on there. It's a nice little package of that. And finally we have the new Take That Odyssey Greatest Hits. This is a deluxe edition that I managed to get a signed copy of. This was slightly delayed. This was meant to come out the same day as the Rita Ora run one, but received an email saying there was a delay to it. It finally turned up on Tuesday, one of the two. Wednesday I think it was, and I unpacked it and I went through it and couldn't find anything signed. Got my mum to double check it. No, she couldn't find anything signed. So I pinged off an email saying it looks like I haven't received a signed copy, which I've not had a reply to yet. This is 4 or 5 days later. But then in the meantime I looked on Twitter just to see if anybody else had received theirs and what should be signed. Saw which picture should be signed, had another look, and it is signed, but it's just so badly done that I sort of missed it. So I'm aware that their signatures are shit anyway. So that's Howard, that's Gary, Mark's is a bit better, but because of where they've signed and how, as I say, sort of just squiggly their signatures are, we both completely overlooked it. But never mind. If they do ever get back to me, I shall just apologise and say, oops, sorry, my mistake, it was signed after all. If they just send something out, I might be kind and send it back, or I might just keep it. I'll probably just keep it, to be honest. Yes, so that is double checking. Yeah, that's all my signed stuff I've received over the last month or so. I'm trying to think if I'm expecting anything else soon. Might be 1 or 2 bits, but probably be the last update this side of Christmas for the autograph side. Obviously there'll be plenty of other videos, but yes, subscribe, like, comment, links down below to my Twitter that some of you already follow me on. I've just started on Instagram. I'm just posting photos of what album I'm listening to at that moment, and or what film I'm watching at that moment. Obviously if you want to follow and you know, we can talk about the albums or the films or what have you, that would be great. If nobody follows, I'll keep it going for a few months. If nothing comes of it, I'll stop doing it, but just thought it's an idea, something you might like to do. But yes, anyway, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on another video. Bye.